I've tested more pickleball paddles in 2025 than I could count on 10 hands. And there were some fantastic paddles this year, but only one paddle took the case for the best pickleball paddle in 2025. And it wasn't what I expected if you asked me just 2 months ago. In this video, we're gonna cover the paddles I didn't like first, and then we're gonna cover the top 5 paddles of 2025. And I know that some people don't wanna spend in the $200 to $300 range on a paddle. So at the end, I'm going to share you the best budget pickleball paddle in 2025, and also my best paddle under 100 introduced in 2025. Let's start with the paddles that I would not play with again. I know this comment may lose some of you, but I would not play with the Carbon True Foam again. I demoed the paddle extensively and I felt that the paddle had neither the control nor the power that I was looking for. And I know so many people love this paddle, but it's something that I really couldn't connect with or play with well. And I think I lost pretty much every game I played with this paddle. That said, I know a lot of people love this paddle, so it may just be me. Secondly, I would not use any of the Gearbox Pro Series paddles again. I tried 3 different Gearbox Pro paddles, the Control, the Ultimate, and the Pro Power, and none of these paddles made sense to me. I felt that the paddles were too face heavy, and I really just couldn't connect with the ball. And if you're new here, I'm obsessed with finding the perfect pickleball paddle, and I test paddles in real games, doubles, singles, skinny singles, so I get a sense of how these paddles play over multiple different types of games. And this list is based on what I actually trust on the court, not just what looks like on paper. There's plenty of people that do that. I'm talking about how these paddles performed on the court. If this type of content is relatable to you, please consider subscribing, as I spent around $1,000 on pickleball shoes, and I plan to cover the best ones, including how the new limited edition Holbrook shoes by Montes stack up. So consider subscribing, because that's gonna be my next video. Also, I love to hear from you. So if you disagree with any of these rankings or the paddles that I didn't play with, please drop a comment. I read them all and I love to hear from you. Okay, 5th place. And this one may surprise people. It's the Ben Johns Joola Pro 4 is in my 5th place spot. And that's wild, because early on, I genuinely thought this would be the best paddle of 2025. Let's start with what this paddle does insanely well. Power. This is the most powerful paddle on this list, apart from maybe the boomstick. It's ridiculous. It feels like a rocket ship. Even with 16 millimeters, you get explosive pop on serves and putaways. Secondly, spin. The spin is also next level. I've hit shots with this paddle where the ball had so much action that my opponent literally looked like they were about to dive just to touch it. Build quality also feels premium. The unboxing experience is top tier, grip tape, stickers, all that stuff. And to be fair, it should be premium because it is one of the most expensive paddles I've ever bought. But here's why it dropped throughout the year. First of all, control. For me, lately, the control has been a problem with this paddle. The paddle feels like a wild stallion. Some days it's perfect, but during tournament play, I felt that so many balls sailed long. And it wasn't just one part of my game, it was dinks, drops, resets, returns. I started to feel like I was fighting the paddle instead of trusting it. Now, I want to be clear, lots of top players use this paddle. So this is not me saying it's bad, it's incredible. But at $279 before tax, I personally would rather choose a paddle that gives me both power and something that I control, which brings me to the 4th place spot. In 4th place this year is the Honolulu J2 NF. And honestly, this paddle could argue for a higher spot. Currently, it's one of my mains, and I can't even explain how fun this paddle is to play with. Here's what stands out about the J2 NF. First, control plus forgiveness. You get that amazing control and a really forgiving sweet spot. Compared to some paddles of the more wild power paddles, you get way more forgiveness with this paddle, and the power boost versus the older control paddles and even the J2K, this paddle has noticeably better power than my old paddles from 2024. I can feel on drives, I can feel on serves. It just gives me more for the same amount of effort. In addition, the spin is insane. You see it on your backhand slices, you see it on your knuckle serves, etc. It just grabs the ball in a way that makes your shots feel heavier. In terms of pop and dwell time, this is one of those paddles where pop and dwell time feel different. You feel connected to the ball. If you're the type of player who likes power but still wants the control, the J2NF is a really good option. But here's the simple way I think about it. If you prefer to go with control, you may go with a J2FC Plus. If you prefer power, go with a J2NF. Now, this paddle retails for around $200, and the code BPickleballer will get this paddle to around $175. So it's a great paddle, and I love that the team gives a great discount code. Okay, 3rd place is the Luzz Inferno. So here's the story. I had a great experience with the Luzz Cannon, and then I moved on to the Tornado. That became one of my mains. But the Inferno, I had to wait for. The paddle sells out all the times, and it finally shows up. I understood why it's sold out so often. The best way to describe the Inferno is if you like the boomstick, the Selkirk boomstick, but you don't love spending $333, the Luzz Inferno is one of the best alternatives I've found. In terms of feel, it has a slightly hollow feel like the boomstick, and I know the hollow can sound negative, but in this case, it more felt like the ball explodes off the face. The power is incredible. I loved how confidently I could drive to the back line. I love how I didn't miss serves with it, and that's huge for me. Now, in terms of control, for a power paddle, I still felt like I could control drops and drips. It's not a pure control paddle, but it's more playable than people expect. And here's a quick recommendation. Now, if you want more balanced power and control, I'd probably go with the Inferno. Now, if you want more raw power and you don't mind giving up the control, the Tornado is a sick paddle as well. It's really cool. It has a lot of amazing power. Now, in terms of price, Luzz is also generous on the discount codes. It's a 15% code that is Pickleball that you can find in the link description below. That brings this paddle to under $200, which makes it a much more realistic option for those people that want the boomstick but don't want the boomstick's price. All right, now we're at second place, and this paddle is truly special. It's the Honolulu J2 FC Plus. And I'll be honest, this paddle is one of the best values in pickleball. Because with the code Pickleballer, you're looking at around $175, and I'm comparing this to those paddles in the $250 to $300 range. And here's a quick anecdote that tells you everything. I finally got an opportunity to share this paddle with one of my friends that used the Joola Perseus, and he literally was flabbergasted by just how well he played. He for the next 2 or 3 sessions, he talked about how this was like the wizard stick, that he could control the ball better, that he could do much better things on the court. And he was so excited that he got the exact same paddle, and he actually also got the exact same overgrip that I have on this paddle because of just how well it played. Now let's talk about why this paddle is special. Now I play a lot of doubles, but I also tested this paddle in singles. The control is A+ for me. My dinks were insane. I missed like 1 or 2 in warm match, which is not normal for me at all. I usually miss more. Once game started, it felt even better. I honestly don't think I missed a drop shot all day. Forehands, backhands were locked in. Everything went where I wanted it. Now, let's talk about power. Power is also strong on this paddle, but what impressed me most is I didn't lose control to get it. My opponent literally commented how deep my serves and returns were going. With other paddles, I'd have to swing harder to get that same depth. And now here's my comparison. The Joola Pro 4 might have slightly more power, but it's an incremental power at the cost of a lot of control. So I give J2 FC Plus an A for paddle because it's a lot more usable power in my opinion. And the spin is excellent. Again, my opponent noticed the dwell time and said the topspin felt incredible. My knuckle serve had a great action. The slice also felt reliable, and I would give this paddle an A for spin. Now, one modification I would definitely consider is an overgrip because I noticed that the grip got a little slippery. So I'd recommend throwing an overgrip on it because it definitely helped. Now, again, this paddle is $195, but with the code Pickleballer, this paddle gets to around $175, which I think is a great investment given the quality of this paddle. It comes with a legit cover, which I actually like. Now, one potential downside is you can't buy this on Amazon, and I buy everything on Amazon, but I bought mine and I got mine in like 2 days. So it was honestly the same Amazon speed. Okay, now we're at first place, and if you notice anything different, you see a little hint of what first place is based on my shirt. And this pickleball paddle really shocked me. The first place paddle is the RPM Friction Pro 16mm elongated. This paddle has literally blown my mind. In November 2025, I had barely heard of it. But when I was researching holiday deals, I kept seeing people mention it on forums again and again, saying this paddle is special. So I finally got it, and I get it now. First, the pop feels different. This paddle does not feel hollow like a boomstick or the Inferno, but it also doesn't feel wild like the Joola Pro 4. It has a really satisfying pop, but it's controlled. It feels premium, but also composed. The spin, in its name, RPM. RPM literally means revolutions per minute. Their whole goal is spin, and I 100% felt that on serves, top spins, and slices. This paddle grips the ball in an insane way. It was easy for my opponents to comment the dwell time and how noticeable that topspin felt. After playing with it, I can say topspin is consistent and easy to generate. The knuckle serve has great action, and the slice is still excellent when you need it. In terms of spin, it's A+ for me. Now, control, this is where it surprised me. I play a lot of doubles and singles. My dinks were dialed in immediately. I had great forehands, backhands, placement, and everything felt locked in. I would definitely give this A for control. And I would say power, also one of the best parts of this paddle. It's really separates this from other paddles because it has power, but it doesn't sacrifice control to get it. That's where I say this is amazing paddle. With some of my other mains, I've had to swing 20 to 30% harder to get that same step. With the RPM, the power is just there and it doesn't feel wild. It feels composed and predictable. In that tournament where I mentioned that the Pro 4 felt like a wild stallion, I would never have had that issue with the RPM. And even in a recent tournament, I saw so many more people playing with the RPM paddle and it made sense. Yes, the Pro 4 or Boomstick might have slightly more raw power, but it's not worth the trade-off for me. So I would give RPM an A+ for power. Now, the paddle is an investment. It's $249 before discount, but RPM gives another 15% discount code, which I find very generous, which gets this paddle to about $215 before tax. That code is BPickleballer, and you can check out a link in the description. And for the best paddle I've played with in 2025, that's a solid deal. Quick social proof, and also quick shout out to Matt's Pickleball, who recently did a video on the best pickleball paddles in 2025. And he also put the RPM Friction Pro in the top spot. So it's not just me. All right, now for the people who are like, Ben, I'm not spending $200 plus on paddle. Here's my best budget pickleball paddle in 2025. It's the Dr. Pickleball Surgical Control. First, I love the design, clean look, heartbeat line is fun, nod to the medical theme. And the name is perfect. Controls matters in surgery and control matters in pickleball. And that's why it stands out. The big difference is that this paddle is 20 millimeters thick. That's noticeably thicker than most paddles. And that thickness gives excellent control. It also is a little bit heavier at 8.5 ounces. So yes, switching from a 14 to 20 millimeter changed my affect hand speed a bit. Thinner paddles usually hit harder, but they're harder to control. This one's designed to be steady and predictable. Gameplay test, this is my favorite story. I played a few games with a friend. I started with a cheap $10 paddle, lost 11-6. I played with an $80 paddle, won 12-10. I went with one of my more expensive $150, $200 paddles, won 11-8. And then I played with this paddle and won 11-3, and that was my best game. I felt like total in control. Controls the headline, surface has enough grip, core helps placement, solid spin is okay as well. Now, one of the things also that surprised me was power. I was worried that 20 millimeters would kill the power. It didn't. I still had strong serves and returns. And I think the slightly heavier weight helps. So if you're kind of in that budget for under $50 and you want control, check out the Dr. Pickleball Surgical Control pickleball paddle. Now let's talk about the best paddle in 2025 for under $100. There's a lot of them that kind of could make the cut. I think the Luzz Cannon is a great paddle. The Vatic Pros are a great paddle. The Qantas is obviously an amazing paddle. But my overall pick, all-around court paddle, Vatic Pro V-Sol Pro. And honestly, it's hands down a great paddle for under $100, even though the Quanta does give a lot of competition. These foam core paddles under $100 are ridiculously good. Now, in terms of control, I usually lean towards control. The V-Sol Pro takes the edge for control because it's the thicker core, observes the ball more, and gives you a softer, precise feel. What's interesting is the sweet spot still feels very similar between the versions, which isn't always true for control and power paddles. In terms of spin, I also think the V-Sol Pro is very grippy and sharp, and it can really generate that spin easily. If you're someone that prefers power and you want the extra juice, you'll probably really like the V-Sol Power because it definitely felt like it had more power than the Pro. Now, the price of this retail is $109.99, but with the code Pickleballer10, it drops it to under $100. Now, under $100, this paddle also comes with a paddle cover, which is actually one of the nicer paddle covers that I have. So that's my ranking from 5th place to 1st, plus my best budget paddle pick and best under $100 pick for paddles made in 2025. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're interested in other content that would be helpful, such as the new best pickleball shoes video I'm about to create. And thanks again for watching. Comment below with what you're using right now and what I should test next.